Everybody, this is Steve with Smitty's Fly Box, and today we are going to tie a dredger. This is a little heavier nymph pattern. We're going to tie it on a barbless hook, and we're using 2 beads up front. So in the box we sent you a couple of colors for the body there, so you can have a little variety. But it's an effective little nymph imitation, nymph caddis larva. So we're going to use these Orienson barbless hooks. They work pretty good, and in a size 10. And so the first bead we're going to slide on is just a 2mm bead, and we're using brass on this one. So we'll slide that on the hook, and it looks kind of funny, kind of small. But we're going to take a tungsten bead and tie and slide it on backwards, meaning the large hole facing forward, and that way it kind of fits around that smaller brass bead. Then we can mount it in the vise and begin tying it. Okay, so the first thing we'll do is just attach our thread and just build up a thread dam right behind the bead, and just take a second and really secure that in. If you really wanted to make this really heavy, if you had some lead wire or something, you could weight it as well, depending on how heavy you like it. And the first thing we're going to do is tie in some scud back over the back. So I'm going to clip off a strip here that's about the same width as that tungsten bead. You just need an inch or so, and we'll peel off the back paper, and then it'll bow up just a little bit. We're going to tie it in so that bow's facing upwards, and just secure that in right there behind the bead, and we'll tie that down all the way around the bend of the hook. Work our way around about right there, just as that starts to bend down. That's about where we want it, and we can return our thread up here, just building a little base there. Now for the ribbing, we're going to use some small wire, so I'm going to lay that wire just to the side of the hook shank and secure that in, and again tie that down all the way around the bend of the hook. Like so. This time we're going to leave our thread back there. Now's a good time to hit that with a little head cement or super glue, and we can begin building the body. So this particular one, I'm going to use this green dubbing, and we're just going to dub a normal body. So I'm just going to cover a couple inches of that thread with dubbing. So again, we're using my middle finger and my thumb, and I'm just rolling in one direction like that to dub that on. And then I can begin building the body of the fly right here at the back. And we can get a little thicker as we go. So I'm going to do another section here, maybe add a little more. And trying to build a nice kind of a taper moving forward up towards the beads. And just about there. I'm just going to add one more touch, just a couple of turns, just to fill that in, just a hair right there. Okay, now we can pull this thin skin over the top, just slightly stretch that. If I can get around this camera, we'll just hold that with your right hand and drop your thread over with your left hand 2 or 3 times. And let's make a couple of extra turns, and now we can snip off that excess. All right, now we can go with the wire, and we'll begin segmenting that fly with the wire. Making nice tight wraps, working our way forward. it gives it a nice buggy look. Once we get to the bead, we can tie that off. Again, hold it with our right hand and drop our thread over with our left hand about 3 times. Make a couple more tight wraps. And now we can snip that off. Okay, now we got a little dead spot there, or a little collar, and that's fine. We're gonna put a little bit of black dubbing. This has really long fibers, so you don't need much. We're just gonna use this to kind of fill in that gap and help it flow with that chartreuse dubbing. And then we can trim off any real long fibers if we'd like. All right, now we're ready to whip finish right there in that same spot, that collar, just behind the bead. But we should hit that with a little super glue. And now we can trim this head off. I like to have a few little feelers out there. Now one thing you can also do is take a little brush or Velcro or whatever you have and just kind of tease out some of those dubbing fibers. And then come in here with your scissors along the side and just kind of trim them, and it gives it a pretty cool look.